Oh, the light is terrible. Hello. So yeah, this is my share of the live video chat about Deborah Roach's book Cross that I just finished narrating for her last week. The focus looks a little soft here. Let's see if we can fix that. Oh, it's about as good as it gets. This is on my tablet, so I was trying to use my laptop, but it didn't want to work. So yeah, I just finished this project for Deb Roach. It was really, really fun. The book was called Cross. It is a young adult fantasy novel. I love fantasy novels, so this was right up my alley. It was kind of cool because I've only recently started, I just became an audiobook narrator about 3 weeks ago. And this project was actually, I had a few samples up on the ACX website, and Deborah actually messaged me and asked me to be the narrator for her audiobook. So that was pretty cool. I didn't have to search for her. She searched for me, and we just clicked. So yeah, I guess I'm here to talk about my experience with the book. So I got a few questions just from watching Deb's video feed a little while ago, and a few of the questions were, one was, what was my favorite character to voice in the book? And Leo was a good one, Deb, but I actually really enjoyed voicing the dying king, the main character's dad, because that one, it just happened organically. I just started reading his part, and all of a sudden that old voice came up, and it just worked. And it was kind of nerve-wracking listening to it back, because he had quite a bit of dialogue in the one chapter, and I was just fingers crossed after 4 hours of working on this one chapter and recording it and sending it off to Deb, and I was just hoping and praying that she was going to like the voice, and she said, "You're getting a standing ovation for me over here," so it worked pretty good. Another question was, how do I prepare for narration? Well, I don't really have a tactic yet, because this was just my first project, so I just kind of winged it. I like to read everything fresh. I don't like to pre-read and go ahead too far. I'll maybe read a paragraph or two getting into a chapter, and then after that I just kind of just go at it, and it seemed to work pretty good, because I like to be surprised when I read something, just like when I'm reading a regular book. So doing this project, yeah, it was just kind of a new thing for me. And somebody actually asked me if I listened to any audiobooks beforehand, before I did this, and I hadn't, because I didn't want anyone else's techniques to taint what I was going to do with this. I didn't want to have someone's impression of an audiobook to be imprinted on me before I did it, so I kind of just discovered everything naturally, which was pretty cool. Hey, let's see if I can get Deb on here. And she says, "Can you do a live read of part of the story?" I can, actually. I can do that right now. I have to read it off my phone, which is kind of cheesy, but bear with me. So this is from, I believe, chapter 11 or chapter 12. And there's a few different characters in here, so I won't get too crazy in depth with it. I'll just do a couple paragraphs. "Larkin, you could never make this kingdom great again. Henrik transferred the king's weight all on me," and pointed at Larkin. "You dishonor all that your ancestors have created. People chose to follow them because they were good, strong leaders." Henrik was letting it out. "They didn't force people to stay as you are. They didn't need to. You're not fit to lead these people. You only wish to keep them as obedient pets." Larkin seemed to vibrate with fury as Henrik spoke. Henrik didn't see the blade coming. Larkin thrust his dagger deep into Henrik's heart and turned the handle to inflict more damage. "Farewell, you opinionated, weak waste of life." Larkin withdrew his blade and kicked Henrik down and turned toward the crowd. Who's next? I'll just do a little bit. I don't want to do too much more than that. So she says, "I do the same thing with reading. I try not to read my own genre. Too worried it will taint my style." Absolutely. This is, yeah, it's an original story, and I didn't want to have any sort of outside influence. A couple other questions that came up from Deb's interview was, do I have a favorite animal? I like dogs. I like other people's dogs. I don't have my own just because it's too much responsibility right now, and I have a lot going on in life. This has been a pretty good year so far. Kimberly asks, what are your nervous habits? Well, as you can probably see, touching my face. I am trying to keep my hands down here because I've noticed I'm touching my face quite a bit. I normally talk really quick, so working on this book was tricky because the notes that I got from Deb after the first 2 chapters were slow down. So that's what I did naturally. I slowed down, and it was very unusual for me to speak that slow, but I did it. I made it work, and it seemed to work for the book pretty well. Let's see what other questions anybody has. There was one, someone said, what's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you? Oh my God, my whole life is pretty funny. I like to see the humor in everything, so I don't really have one funniest thing story. I have a few that I can't share with you. I'm sorry, it's way too bad to be public. What else have we got here? I guess Deb did actually mention that she said for next time he can charge more money. That's true. That's a good point. I should have dragged it out to about 6 hours instead of 4, but 4 hours was pretty good for 133 pages. Somebody asked, what do I do when I'm not narrating audiobooks? Well, I am a bartender. I work 3 days a week out in a place called Brentwood Bay, just north of where I live. Beautiful little village on Vancouver Island. It's amazing, and I love it. I also got a part in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat with Four Seasons Musical Theater, and that rehearsals have started last week, and that's going to be 3 days a week for about 4 months. That's pretty exciting. It's my first ever musical theater performance, but I just love to sing, so it's a lot of fun so far. Aside from that, I do some writing. I'm producing some comedy sketches. I'm working with a cameraman and editor who's very talented, who is behind me 100% helping me with this, so that's really exciting. I also sing lead vocals in a metal band. We haven't nailed down a name yet, but that's coming soon. Oh, she says you box too. That was a one-time thing. I did that. It was a fundraiser for at-risk youth on the Lower East or the downtown East Side in Vancouver back in 2015. That was a cool experience. I fought somebody. It was all people in the service industry, so I fought another bartender, and I thought it was a draw, but I just edged out the win just barely. So, favorite band? Ooh, I got a lot of them. I listen to a lot of stoner metal, Corrosion of Conformity, and Down, but I also listen to country music and classical music. I did win the fight. Yep, I did. Just barely, but it felt good to win, and he said he'd have a rematch anytime, and I said the same thing to him. So, do I think Mayweather stands a chance against McGregor in the octagon? Absolutely not. That would just be a demolition of Floyd Mayweather because it's a completely different game when you bring in jiu-jitsu and wrestling and grappling and things like that. Just leg kicks alone, he'd probably take him out. So that would just be a one-sided demolition of Floyd Mayweather. So I hope it never happens because it would just be embarrassing. Yes, but with the back into the narrating world, I'm really looking forward to obviously hoping part 2 and part 3. I get those projects as well for the other books. But I'm continuing to audition for other projects and trying to get more. So eventually I can just act and sing and narrate audiobooks for the rest of my life because this is it's kind of a cool market that I didn't even know existed until January. Says, would you do Audible again? Absolutely. I really enjoyed doing this. I can record this in the comfort of my own bedroom at home with a pair of headphones and a microphone, and it's a lot of fun. I like to both answer favorite snack food, coffee or tea, favorite coffee or tea flavor. Snack food, I'm very much no sugar. I try to go no sugar as much as possible, so I guess I could say my favorite snack food is bacon. I love just making a whole pan of bacon in the oven and eating it. And coffee or tea, I love coffee. But if I'm having a cup of tea, it's before bed, and it's chamomile or peppermint. Coffee, just black. I try to do it with no additives, no sugar, and it seems to be working so far. Just got the rights to my Demon Hunter series. You could voice Killian. There we go. Now I have another opportunity to do some voice work in the future. If you have any more questions, fire them off. Do you like first-person narration or doing multiple points of view? I liked the first person. It was pretty easy. It wasn't too complicated. I don't know how it would go with multiple points of view, so that would be an interesting endeavor to undertake. What else? Anything else? It's almost time to go for some wings and a beer here in a minute. So if there are no further questions, then I will... Oh, if I were to spend a day in any book, which one would you choose and why? I think I'd want to be part of the Sword of Truth series, or Lord of the Rings, I think, or maybe even Game of Thrones. But the chance of getting your head chopped off is pretty good, and that would not be fun. Do I have any phobias? Oh, I hate spiders. Once when I was 16, I was living at my parents' house, living in the basement. I was going to bed one night, and I was just about to sleep in bed, and I just felt something touch my face, and I thought, what the heck is that? And next thing you know, this giant spider's crawling across my face. I slapped myself, hopped out of bed to see a body with legs and guts and blood all over my hand. It was the most unnerving thing that's ever happened to me, so I do not like spiders. I don't mind them if I can see them, but it's when you see them and then they disappear and you can't find them. That's when they get kind of scary. I look like Faramir in Lord of the Rings trilogy. I guess a little bit. I'll take it. I guess I look like a lot of people too. Everybody has a doppelganger out there. No other phobias though. I'm pretty good with public speaking, being in front of crowds. You kind of have to be in my line of work. So yeah, no phobias about that. Maybe starting to get to the point where large crowds make me uncomfortable. I'd rather be inside or just hanging out with a few people than being in massive crowds of people. But I guess it all depends on where you are too. Ugh, if a hot chick put it in her bed, you would have probably been... Okay. Okay, the spider. Maybe. That's still pretty mean. Favorite mixed drink? Oh, I like a good old-fashioned. That's what I go with. I don't like this sugar. I can't do mix. I can't do rum and coke or rye and coke anymore. So yeah, it's a old-fashioned, just straight up bourbon. You know, a little bit of bitters. Everything else. Yes, I got that. Deb meaning the spider. I didn't get it at first. Yeah, but if there are no more questions, I'm going to go enjoy the rest of this sunny day because it is beautiful outside and we haven't had weather like this in a while. So, yeah, go out, download Cross when it comes out on Audible and enjoy the book. It was a lot of fun working on it. And can we find your music online? You can find my old band, actually. We recorded 3 songs back in 2013. So if you go to www.reverbnation.com/IT103, you'll see the 3 songs that we recorded back in 2013 in my original band. And the new band, we're still working on stuff in the jam studio, and we're looking at recording in the next month or so. And then going live in probably April. Have you been to the U.S.? Favorite place? I have, actually. I have been to Seattle because it's just across the water. I spent a night in Portland, Oregon. Wicked spot. Great locals. I've been to San Diego twice, and I absolutely love that city. I love the weather. I love the people. The locals are really friendly. And the weed is legal. It's amazing. But I will put the link in the comments. I guess I can type stuff. I'll just do it after. I've been to New York. I spent a night in New York when I was flying to Bermuda to see my sister Christmas time 2015. I had a preconceived notion about New Yorkers being mean. They're all super friendly. Super friendly. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a good night. Found this place called Rudy's. Great dive bar. $5 beer and shot and all the hot dogs that you can eat. All the free hot dogs you can eat. It was amazing. Other than that, I haven't spent any time in any other American cities, but I want to. I want to do a road trip through the States at some point because it's a big country and there's lots of stuff to see, and I think it would be a lot of fun just getting to explore that place. Agreed. Super nice New York peeps. Totally. Yeah, so if there are no more questions, we'll give it a second, and if not, yeah, go out, download the book, read it, or listen to it. I hope you guys enjoy it. Chicago rocks. Never been to Chicago. Yeah, I'm going to call it quits here and get off of the Facebook Live window. So yeah, enjoy the book, and I had a lot of fun making it, and I hope you guys have a lot of fun listening to it. So enjoy the rest of your day, guys.